The Mobile World Congress this year wasn't short on any cool innovations. Every company brought their A game with their latest flagships, offering unique features to their own lineup. Two of the biggest releases in the Mobile World Congress were the LG G6 and the Sony Xperia XZ Premium. In this video, we'll talk about both the company's flagships and in a way compare them with one another. Of course, a proper comparison is not possible without physically testing both the phones, but I think we can see how both the phones fare against each other in terms of the specifications, the features, and of course the design. So let's begin. LG released their flagship G series phone, the LG G6, which was nothing short of a masterpiece. After the huge disappointment of the G5 last year, LG really needed to pull a rabbit out of the hat, and so they did with the G6. The highlight of the G6 is the display. LG's tagline with the G6 was a big screen that fits in your hand, and it's actually quite ingenious how they made this a reality. The G6 has a massive 5.7-inch screen in the body of a 5.3-inch screen. They did this by trimming the top and bottom bezels, thereby giving more space for the display, and are calling this the full vision display. Along with this, they adopted an unconventional aspect ratio of 18:9, which is called Univision. According to Vittorio Storaro, the creator of Univision, the 18:9 screen is longer and narrower, and the viewer will have more immersive experience while watching movies. And also with the extra space, there is much more content one can view on the screen, either while reading a mail or scrolling through your Twitter or Facebook newsfeed. LG G6 was also the first phone to come out with Dolby Vision and HDR10 imaging technology, which LG says was previously only limited to HD TVs. Sony, on the other hand, launched 4 smartphones at the Mobile World Congress, out of which the Sony Xperia XZ Premium was their flagship device. Sony could never actually compete in the flagship battle, with Samsung, LG and Apple always outshining them. But with the Xperia XZ Premium, Sony could very well have a winner here. The XZ Premium is the first phone with a 4K display. That's right, 4K. It's also the first phone to be unveiled with the latest Snapdragon 835 chipset. The smartphone also has a new cutting-edge camera technology called Motion Eye. This technology lets you record at 960 frames per second that gives super slow motion video playback, and Sony says this is 4 times slower than any other smartphone in the market today. So now that we've covered the key features of both the company's flagships, let's get more into the details. The specs on both the smartphones are top-notch, but Sony does seem to have an edge here. The G6 has a 5.7-inch full vision display. The display is Quad HD, so it's a 2K display. The XZ Premium, on the other hand, has a 5.5-inch 4K display. As I mentioned earlier, the XZ Premium is the first phone with a 4K display. However, both the full vision display of the G6 and the 4K display on the Xperia XZ Premium aren't ideal displays at the moment, at least, as enough content is not available for both. There is very little content out there right now in the 18:9 aspect ratio, so you can't really enjoy the benefit of the full big screen for most of the content. In the Sony phone, the 4K display seems to be better off as there is more content available in 4K out there. But on such a small screen, one can't truly enjoy the 4K viewing experience. At least that's what I feel. Plus, the 4K display will be a complete battery drainer. In terms of protection, the G6 has Gorilla Glass 3 on the display, and the Xperia XZ Premium has a much superior Gorilla Glass 5. In software, both phones run Android 7 Nougat right out the box. As for the processor, the G6 runs the Snapdragon 821 chipset. In contrast, the Xperia XZ Premium runs the latest Snapdragon 835 chipset. Sony does have an advantage here with the Snapdragon 835, but since the Xperia XZ will go on sale towards the end of spring, they were able to accommodate the chipset on their flagship, whereas the G6 will go on sale next month, so they used the best processor available to them, which was the Snapdragon 821. In terms of graphics, the G6 runs the Adreno 530 GPU and the Sony Xperia XZ Premium runs the Adreno 540 GPU. Just to make it clear, the 540 GPU is 25% faster than the Adreno 530, so Sony has an edge here as well. Both the phones come with 4GB RAM, with the G6 having an internal storage of 32GB and the XZ having 64GB internal storage. The storage on both the phones can be extended up to 256GB with an external SD card. Coming to battery capacity, the G6 has a 3300 mAh battery storage and the XZ Premium has a 3230 mAh battery storage. The camera on both the phones are really impressive, with both companies known for putting great cameras on their devices. The G6, carrying on the legacy of the G5, has a rear dual camera setup where both the lenses at the back have a 13 megapixel sensor each. One of the lenses at the back is a wide angle lens with a focal length of f2.4, which gives a field of view up to 125 degrees. On the front, the G6 has a 5 megapixel sensor which has a field of view of 100 degrees, which captures a lot more. The Sony Xperia XZ Premium, on the other hand, has a 19 megapixel sensor at the back with, like I mentioned earlier, Sony's new Motion Eye camera system, which lets you record in 960 frames per second, providing super slow motion video playback. According to Sony, this captures details that even the human eye doesn't. On the front, there is an impressive 13 megapixel sensor. In terms of specs, Sony does seem to have the technical superiority, but sometimes more is always not good. Also, considering the fact that the LG G6 will be releasing much before the Xperia XZ Premium, they have compromised on a few specs which otherwise would be available to them later down the road. If you actually look at the specs on the G6 are quite similar to the specs on the LG V20, which released towards the end of last year. If you look at the design of both the phones, the G6 is a clear winner. The LG G6 looks absolutely beautiful. The thin bezels ensures a bigger display on a small phone. So even though the display on the G6 is bigger than the Xperia XZ Premium, if we put both of them next to each other, the G6 will look smaller. Because of this, one-handed usage is very convenient on the G6, also making the phone lighter. This, along with the metal finish and the dual camera setup, makes the G6 a very good looking phone. The look and design of the Xperia lineup was always a little dull and a little below par. I never really liked the design of the Xperia phones, and especially the XZ. The thick bezels takes away the aesthetic appeal of the phone. The side mounted fingerprint sensor is also quite annoying. The placement of it is quite far from ideal. So both the smartphones seem like great options in the coming year. However, without a proper review, we can't state anything, but the phones do seem promising, and on paper they look really great with premium specs. Both of them are IP68 certified, which means they're water and dust resistant. I would say that I prefer the Xperia XZ Premium over the LG G6 if it had a much better design, much better look. Even though it has superior specs, I wouldn't want to be using something which looks like this. However, that's my personal opinion. It does differ from person to person. Thanks for watching, guys. What are your opinions on both the companies' flagships? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts with us. Subscribe to Symple Reviews for more videos about the Mobile World Congress. So that was all for now. I'll see you guys next time.